Why is Saudi Arabia taking Aramco public? It's a question many people are asking, but few are answering. While I'm not an expert, I did speak with several Middle Eastern analysts at the UN, and the IPO for Aramco is odd. Saudi Arabia has a problem. The problem is oil. Some people believe Saudi's vast oil reserves are a gift, and they are, but they're also a curse. Economists even have a term for it, the resource curse. Remember blood diamonds in the Congo? That's a resource curse. You see, right now, Saudi Arabia is dependent on selling its cheap oil to keep its economy running. If nobody wants any oil, or they run out, the musical chairs, or in this case musical camels, stop. No free utilities, no $1 gas, no money to import all the grain and fresh water they need daily to survive. No guaranteed employment. Economists estimate only 30 to 40% of working-age Saudis hold jobs, and even then, most Saudis with jobs are employed by the government. This is such a problem that even the International Monetary Fund has warned the government they cannot continue to support such a large workforce off of oil in the long term. But part of the problem is also cultural. Historically, Saudi nationals have considered work in the private sector, like service and sales jobs, beneath them, and unacceptable. So where does Saudi Aramco's IPO come in? Other oil-rich nations like Qatar and the UAE have poured their oil profits into building fantastic tourist destinations. Why? Because they need to secure ways of making money when their oil runs dry. But Saudi Arabia has been slow to reinvest its oil profits into the future, instead choosing to sedate its citizens with money. Karl Marx said religion, often used as a means to control society, is an opium for the masses. In Saudi Arabia, that opium is not religion, but money. But that's beginning to change, and Aramco is the agent. On October 27, 2017, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman announced a mind-blowing new project. He calls it it.Neom. Neom is a city of the future, with flying cars, beautiful rivers, skyscrapers, and bullet trains. It'll be the biggest tourism economic zone ever created. It will be a Dubai that makes Dubai look like St. Louis, Missouri. Or so Mohammed bin Salman has promised. But there's a problem. Neom is expected to cost $500 billion and is located on sand dunes. Where does Saudi Arabia get $500 billion? From the Saudi Arabia Sovereign Wealth Fund, also called the PIF, or Public Investment Fund. The PIF is a monetary tool for the Saudi family, and by proxy the government, to diversify the economy away from oil, to shed Saudi's resource curse. The aim of selling Aramco to the public will be to fill the PIF with enough cash to build Neom. But Neom is a multi-decade project, and so is selling Aramco to the public. While Saudi Arabia has finally listed Aramco for sale, it did so only on the tiny stock market Tualdi. And the only people that can purchase Aramco stock? Saudi citizens. In fact, ordinary Saudis are being incentivized by the government to do just that. Banks are granted extra leveraged loans so Saudis can borrow more money to buy Aramco stock. Plus, if Saudi citizens hold onto their stock for at least 180 days, they'll be given an additional share for each 10 they have. All this means that Aramco was able to raise $25 billion from selling only 2% of their company during its IPO. That $25 billion will go into the PIF to start paying for Neom. But $25 billion isn't $500 billion. In order to reach that figure, they'll have to sell more stock, which Saudi Arabia will likely do, but not until they can first assure demand is up, creating a premium for their shares, and allowing its citizens to make a profit from their initial investment in Aramco first. In fact, when auditors asked if the wealth fund, or PIF, would use its money to buy surplus Aramco stock to keep the price high and in demand, they had no comment. It's all a long-term strategy. Eventually, Aramco will sell more shares and raise more money to fund Neom. Neom is where Saudi Arabia is placing the future of their economy. But there will be trials along the way. Part of the curse of selling oil is supply. If refineries are attacked like they were by the Iranian-backed Houthis in 2019, the supply gets squeezed and the price of oil increases. This sounds good superficially, but long-term it's fragile. Attacks on refineries will hurt the stock price of Aramco, showing how vulnerable a company is when it lies within a country at the center of geopolitical hotspots. And policy advisors around the world say there will be future attacks. This is why Saudi Arabia is taking Aramco public. 1, to raise money for NEOM, their futuristic super project, and 2, to slowly untangle themselves from the curse of oil. If multinational corporations have a stake in Aramco, they may be more likely to protect their investment, and by proxy, Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia gets to be less concerned about a future where their one product for sale, oil, slowly runs out or gets replaced by renewable energies.